do not really know how this got started or why, or maybe even what we do. So tonight we're going to educate you on that, and I think it will be entertaining as well. So here we go. In January of 1997, my first grandchild was born. My family was at the hospital, and when they handed me that baby, my heart nearly jumped out of my body. Her eyes were wide and open, and she was looking at me with those big blue eyes and just said, I could just see, I looked down at her and her eyes just said, "Are you my grandmother?" My life changed in that moment, and I could not be with her enough. I started noticing all children more and thinking about them differently, not just as children, but as precious treasures. I saw some children not being treated well, and I read horror stories about children that were abused or neglected. I remember going to Gracie's first birthday party and seeing all the gifts and the cake and the ice cream and the presents, and all of us standing around just waiting to hold her and love her. And it occurred to me that some children don't ever get to have a birthday party. I wanted to give them that party. I felt that I was being called to do something to help them, but I didn't know what. I thought and spent many sleepless nights thinking about what I could do. Years went by and I had another granddaughter, actually just 2 years. Many of my friends had new grandbabies too, and we loved talking about them. I knew that others felt like I did. I thought about forming a grandmother's club, but I hated the image of what that sounded like. A bunch of old ladies sitting around looking at their grandchildren's pictures. There was a popular movie out then with Bette Midler and Goldie Hawn and Diane Keaton called First Wives Club. They were young and cute and fun and smart and creative, and so I thought, why not First Grandmother's Club? I even registered as a domain name to make sure, and that was a new thing at the time on the computer. And then I had a third child that was due in March of 2002. And I decided that by the time that baby got here, that I was going to do something about my idea. I sat down and wrote a letter to 13 of my friends who were grandmothers. I told them about my idea, and I asked them for help. I invited them to my house and hoped that maybe 5 or 6 of them would show up to help me. On the day of the meeting, all 13 showed up. I was at that first meeting, and I volunteered to be secretary. What? Oh, I'm Marty Norman. And I was at the first meeting, and I volunteered to be secretary. Big mistake. The meeting was total chaos. Picture this, a room full of 14 gifted and talented women, all leaders in the community, all with their own ideas. And the unifying factors were that we all wanted to bless children. None of us wanted to expend any energy on table decorations or fundraising, and we didn't want any requirements for the club. But then we were starting. We didn't know what to do. Out of the mayhem stepped Jane Chapman. We need money. I'm going to open a bank account, give me $50. Then Bev stepped up. We need a logo. I have some ideas. I'll research. Linda pipes up. Well, I'll look into a website. Carol Stripling says, Louis will set up a 501c3 for us. Another was suggested, I want a yearly Easter egg hunt. I'm going to call Jane Ann Gaines and see if she'll have it. Julie and Linda are next, and they said, well, we think we ought to do our blessings through nonprofits. We'll research that. In the midst of this creative brilliance and brainstorming, someone burst our bubble. But we don't have any members. Dead silence. Finally, one soul speaks up. Well, I guess I'll call Eamon Carter and see if we can set up a date. Someone else offers, well, okay, I'll do invitations.
You can each mail them out to 10 friends, and we'll see what happens. And there you have it. We have a structure, a format, a club with no members, no RSVPs, no invitation list, and no idea if anyone would come. It's a beginning. Welcome to the First Grandmothers Club.
I'm Beverly Snyder. Have you ever volunteered to do something that you had no talent for or experience in? So I said, I'll work on the logo. But I had an ace in the hole. I had a son who is an artist, and I called him and said, John Holt, we need a logo for the First Grandmothers Club. And he said, Mom, what is the First Grandmothers Club? After I explained to him what we were trying to do and told him that we would all be very different people with one goal, those children, he presented me the next day with what is your logo. And that's what you have, and I volunteered.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Day that I'd like to share with you was where we, the day I'd like to share with you began with I told you I'm not used to this. But the day I'd like to share with you began at the Amy Carter Museum. And it was the day that we had our first opportunity to welcome new members and share what our grandmother's mission was going to be. So here we were, and a funny thing happened with Linda at the museum. One of the guys came up and said, what group is this? And she said, well, it's a grandmother's group. And he said, oh, I think we've got a problem. He said, we don't have any elevators here. We just have a lot of stuff. And Linda said, you know, that won't be any problem for us. We're all modern and thoroughly modern, well-fit grandmothers. We can handle stairs. Just watch us. And so we were all began arriving, our founders began arriving at the museum. Sally came in with fresh cut, what were they, Sally? Gladiolus. And Linda came with a large bowl, and I mean large, of pumpkin dip. And Beverly, it was popular at the time. And Beverly came with a sample of our First Grandmother's t-shirt. With the logo. With the new logo on it. So we were ready to go. But were they coming? Was anyone coming? We had no idea. And lo and behold, here they came. And you know what? They were so beautiful. And we were amazed. And Linda, with her kind words, said, well, of course they're beautiful. That's the glow of being a grandmother. So how happy we were that they came. Linda graciously began her speech welcoming all these members, or not members yet, but all these who came. And she told them that, thanked them for coming and said, oh my goodness, you all are coming trusting us and you had no idea what to expect. All you knew was that you had to be a grandmother, and that's all. Well, Linda shared her vision for this group, and you know what? Before the meeting had ended, we had 200 dues-paying members who were so eager to share their grandmother's love with all of them. So how fortunate were we? But we still had one bit of meeting or business to care, and it was selling the t-shirts. Well, guess what we did? They weren't a product of the museum. so we couldn't sell them inside. So guess what we did? We went out to the parking lot, following this pretty lady who opens up the trunk of the car, climbs in the trunk, and begins to sell these T-shirts, hawking them like a soft hawker. And you know what? It was then and there that we all realized that we were on our way to achieving Linda's vision for this great new group she called proudly the First Grandmothers Club. And weren't we lucky? It was a magical day.
Hello, I'm Sally Johnson. This is so fun to reminisce, making me kind of new. Well, all right, we're on our way. We were so excited. It was great. We had members. We had, things were in place. We had a logo. We had all these things, but we needed to have a first meeting. And where in the world were we going to go? What is this all about? So we chose Cook Children's Medical Center. It was just perfect because we sent out invitations, which we're doing all these things ourselves, you know, taking them to the quick print and all that. And got the invitations out, and we had a membership, so people were responding. We knew they were actually going to come. We met in the atrium, and we had T-shirts because, you know, and so we wanted to have a picture made. We didn't have them on, but we held them up, and we did a little trick photography. You know, it's one of my favorite pictures.
It's a great picture.
I love that picture. And didn't you say it's on the website?
We'll put it on the website.
Thank you. Good. But it was so pretty in the atrium. And Cook Children's at that time was having a campaign for car seat checks. And they were at different locations in Fort Worth because, this group with our children, you know, we put the arm out, you know, when we put on the brakes. So we've come a long way, and they started making car seats. Not all of them could pass inspection. In fact, some were not safe at all. So Cook Children's really made them have to pass a test, be official. Most importantly, they had to be installed correctly. People had fancy car seats, but they weren't putting them in correctly. So we had instructions about that. And I thought that was educational. And we also had lessons, instruction in CPR training. You know, no more reaching down the throat of the baby or any of this striking. So we were learning how to conduct CPR and life-saving measures with babies and children. It was exciting. Well, we also had wanted to participate with the children, and all of those who are able can participate in activities, which was just very gratifying. But we did this along with the guidance of Child Life. That is the group I call the Guardian Angels of Cook Children's. These people, these lovely, wonderful people, are the counselors for the children and the parents. They are with them most of the time, encouraging them, lifting their spirits, and providing activities, all kinds of things, making the holidays fun for them in the hospital. So we got to participate in decorating Valentine cookies, because this was in February. and it was just so much fun. We had a wonderful meeting, a huge attendance. The feedback was very good, and so we left that day feeling like we had helped them. I think we contributed to the car seats, didn't we? And sorry, I should remember that first. But it was wonderful, and we all left with our spirits lifted. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
As the years went by, we were getting close to our 10th anniversary, and we wanted to do something special to honor the children of Fort Worth, but we needed money. And so we decided we needed a project. We'd never had a project. So the board talked about it. We decided we would do a cookbook. Now this is back, you know, we're just now getting to where we had iPhones. But we weren't searching for recipes like we do now. So we decided to do a cookbook. We sent out a plea to all our members to turn in recipes. Some of our local chefs, everybody turned it, sent all those in. We had a committee, started testing recipes. That was a lot of fun. We had a lot of happy husbands because women were cooking. They were baking cookies, baking cakes, cooking dinner. So finally the cookbook was ready to send off. Got that done. One day Linda called me and she said, they've arrived. Boxes and boxes and boxes of cookbooks are downstairs in my house. And they were, and we had to sell them. And we didn't know anything about marketing, but fortunately, Rainey, Linda's daughter, helped us with some of that. And we had lots of free publicity. We had a feature in 360 West. We had a dinner party out by Linda's pool with several of us, and they did several pages on that. We had a full page in the food section of the Star-Telegram with Jane Chapman and one of her granddaughters. Good Morning Texas came to my kitchen, and my granddaughter and I baked a cake for them. Somebody just handed me Fort Worth, Texas article that had several recipes that I'd forgotten about. Linda and Betty Rutherford were interviewed on Noonday. It just went on and on. I mean, Fort Worth was clamoring for our cookbook. We got out there. UCC had some holiday bazaar of some kind, and we went there to sell them. We got the squares. You remember the squares that fit on the iPhones that you could use a credit card? It was all new. Oh my gosh. It was so funny. But we managed to charge people and sell our cookbooks. We sold them at Case Hallmark, at Lawrence's. At our meetings, we went through our first printing, ordered more, sold those out. Took a while to sell the second printing, but here's our cookbook. Those of us who have it, like having them. And did you bring one tonight?
We have 3 for door prizes.
We have some for
And they are 3 of the last 4. So we're nearly out.
Tonight. So if you're lucky, you might get one of our cookbooks. And the title, it does have the heart on the front, and the title is A Legacy of Love, Cooking from the Heart. We used our funds, or some of the funds, to buy a bench that's at the zoo, at the entrance to the zoo, and there's a plaque that's dedicated to the children of Fort Worth from First Grandmothers Club. And I drive by it all the time, and it just makes me feel good when I see families sitting on our bench.
Yeah.
So it's there forever.
Yeah, wonderful.
I'm Courtney Dickerson. I'm Courtney Lawrence Dickerson. I can't remember what I was when we started. Long ago. But we had programs. I can't remember if they were monthly or not. I can't remember a lot. It was
2 a year.
2 a year.
2 a year. Okay, thank you. Well, one of the most fun ones, I must say, was Gill's. It was learning about Gill's Children's Services, and it was founded a little before that by Jenny Richards, who was Elizabeth Ray's mother, and her good friend Martine Ginsburg. And we just fell in love with that organization, and it's still alive. And it's a nonprofit, and what their objective is to help children who kind of is a last move in receiving dental care or medical care or maybe some help with school tutoring or something like that. They had applied at federal things and maybe didn't get the grants or whatever. So this was a last chance for them to be helped. If they had bad cavities, or there were dentists and doctors who would volunteer to help with their issues. So it was a wonderful, wonderful organization. It is a wonderful, wonderful organization. But at the time, Tim Madigan, do any of you all, are you familiar with Tim Madigan?
Yeah.
Some of you are. Well, he was the chairman of the board of Gill's Services. So he came. He's a friend of several of us. And so we invited him to come speak. And he was so fun. We had a great meeting. Somebody reminded me tonight, I think it was across from the First Methodist Church in the building across, but I'm not real sure where it was. I don't remember. But one of the first things he said, it was so funny. He walked in the room and he said, I thought I was going to speak to a bunch of real grannies. Instead, there are a bunch of babes in this room. And we were in our 50s.
We were a little younger then.
It was several years ago, and several decades ago, rather. And so anyway, he had fun with it because he was genuinely surprised to see that we really were pretty cute. And he told us all about it because a lot of people weren't familiar with Gill. It was pretty new. And so he was informing us about it. And as some of you know, he has since gone on to be kind of a local celebrity here because he's written a book about
Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers. You all remember, some of you probably watched it as children.
No.
And they became best friends, and he really inspired him. So he wrote a book about him. He's written a play about him. It's been shown in Fort Worth. It's probably in about 5 states in the United States. So he's a playwright. He's just a great, great guy. And we were so happy to have him speak to us. And what we ended up doing was donating $4,000 to the Gill's Children's Services. I keep wanting to say Family Services, but it's really Gill Children's Services. So that was we were pleased with that.
I'm Elizabeth Ray, and in 2005, we went to Kinder Frogs, and while we were there, they gave us an educational presentation, and a tour, and also a tour of Star Point. Afterwards, we donated art supplies to them. So we always donated something to wherever we went. Also, we went to the Warm Place, and I think many of you all have just been to the Warm Place. It was started by Dr. John Richardson, the pediatrician here. And he talked about the important role of grandparents in the lives of these children. And we donated pillowcases for them to decorate for their loved ones.
We also have two other members here who chose not to speak tonight, and all of us are mad at them. But I do want to introduce them to you, Linda Shropshire and Judy Jones. And we also have one founding mother, a grandmother, Connie Osborne, who is tonight at a program that her grandson is in. And Lenny Sankry also is one of our members who are not here. But I think it's absolutely amazing that this many showed up, and we actually had 2 meetings in preparation. So let's all thank all of them for being here.
Y'all come get your pictures.
Can y'all see?